The Paul Leslie Hour, helping people tell their stories. And now, your host, Paul Leslie.
Hey, it's me. Welcome to episode number 13 of the Paul Leslie Hour. How are you, folks? Good to have you here. On this episode, we're welcoming a songwriter. I like to think that on the Paul Leslie Hour, the songwriter is the star. I know I've welcomed a lot of the stars. You know what I mean, the people who are on stage or on the album. But there's something about the men and women who write songs that I just have such a love for them. That's where music starts. Larry Bastian has been the source of some really great songs. He's written songs for people like Buck Owens, George Jones, Tammy Wynette, Conway Twitty, Vern Gosdin, and of course, Garth Brooks. He's written a couple of songs for and with Garth Brooks. One song that he wrote very synonymous with Garth Brooks would be Rodeo. I reached out to Garth Brooks' manager about trying to interview Larry Bastian. I had been thinking about trying to get a hold of him for quite some time. And I sent off this email and I figured, well, here goes nothing. And what can I say? Sometimes you get lucky. When you listen to this interview with Larry Bastian, I want you to imagine us sitting around a campfire, because that's what it felt like. Enjoy. Hey, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm fine for a Monday.
I hear you.
I've got some Spanish Basque blood on my dad's side of the family, and there's an old saying, Nelina de Luna, ni las gallinas ponen, which means on Monday even the hens don't lay. So, well, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
This is good.
Yeah. Shall we jump right in?
Sure.
Well, the man we're speaking with is songwriter Larry Bastian. And I'm going to start this interview with a quote. If one looks down the list of music's greatest writers of all time, I couldn't imagine the list being complete without the name of Larry Bastian. And the person who said that, Garth Brooks. So, Mr. Bastian, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Good to talk to you, Paul.
It's an honor. And I'm curious, what type of name is Bastian?
It was Sebastian when my great-grandfather came over from Europe. He was Spanish Basque, according to my dad, and we spoke with him frequently before he passed away. And so it was Sebastian, and I think his name must have been Juan Carlos Sebastian, but he changed everything when he arrived in this country, and his name was Charles John Bastian when he came to the country. And I heard he was in a little fracas over there, as a lot of them were, and he made his way to the New World. Thanks be to God.
So you have Spanish roots?
On my dad's side. I have Irish roots on my mother's side from County Clare in Ireland, and I've got Basque separatists on one side and the IRA on the other, so they don't allow me with sharp instruments. We're pretty well mixed up. We've been here quite a while. My great-granddad came over in the 1860s, and the Irish were already in, I think it was Chicago or someplace over there. Yeah. Anyway, we all wound up over here.
Would you say that your roots or your family play any part in you being a songwriter?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. My grandfather on my mother's side, old Irishman, man, he taught me so much about, he taught me to appreciate rhyme. Of course, he was a Yeats fan. He made me learn a poem called O'Driscoll when I was 10 years old. He was also loved his music, and of course all Irish songs. My Lord, he'd regale me from morning till night with, oh golly, name one. My mother was very much, she loved rhyme, and she taught me what to look for, what kind of rhyme, and, and so I kind of grew up around it. You know, you grow up different degrees of what you love to do, shading that with what your parents love you to do, or kind of tilt you towards. Anyway, I got a pretty good education in music from the folks.
I was hoping you could tell us about the part of the country that you live in.
Yeah, be glad to. We're in Central California. We're in the San Joaquin Valley, on the east side of the San Joaquin Valley, on the western slope of the Sierra Nevada range, and right about the center of the state, a little bit south of center. It's a farming country with, oh boy, when people come out here from Nashville to visit or co-write or something, they're always amazed at all of the farming that's done. But this is the breadbasket of the world here in San Joaquin Valley, and it was a wonderful place to grow up in, and there's plenty of cattle ranches around, and I was fortunate enough to have an uncle on my dad's side that was the arena director of the Rocky Hill Arena out of Porterville, California, that through the 40s and 50s, he was the arena director for it, and got up close and personal with the rodeo deal going on. Dad was a farmer and a rancher, and he also worked for my uncle. My uncle had a pack station back in the Sierras where he'd take people that wanted a pack trip on horseback back into the wild country, and a lot of them going to Mount Whitney, which is the tallest peak in the lower 48. I grew up back there. In fact, I was baptized back at a little place called Lloyd Meadows in the Sierras. I think there was a group of priests that came through to go on a trip to Mount Whitney, and my brother and I was a year old, and my brother was 2 years old, so took the opportunity to use some of the water out of Freeman Creek. Anyway, it didn't take for a long time, but anyway, it was, that's kind of where I was. I learned to throw a diamond hitch on a mule or a pack horse when I was 10. It was a good way to grow up.
It seems like for a lot of people around the country, they don't really have an idea about all of the diverse things that California offers.
Oh, that's so true, Paul. My Lord. It's so much fun to get them out here and have them just astonished by taking them out. A lot of them don't realize the size of a redwood tree, and being able to drive them up here a half hour from our house and being able to show them trees that are over 2,000 years old and absolutely huge. There's one tree up there that takes, I think there's 43 paces to walk around it. It's just it's wonderful to see the wonder in their eyes when they see something like that. That it's the only place in the world you can see those sequoia giants. It was a wonderful place to grow up.
I know that you are a biologist. So
yes, sir.
So you have a scientific mind and an artistic mind. I
like critters, and I think I get was very fortunate before I went into the music full time. I was able to be on one of the last condor counts for the California condor, and I did some rare and endangered species work on San Joaquin kit fox, different things like that. So I got the best of the whole deal. You know, I got to ride an airboat out across the Tulare Lake Basin. There was a botulism outbreak of waterfowl, and got to go pick up, rescue sick ducks. It's a great thing to do. And yeah, I loved what I did, but the music is very consuming to me, and it's something that I never forgot. I never lost my need to write. So I met Merle Haggard's wife at that time, Bonnie Owen Haggard, and I'd known her back during a time in Bakersfield. There was a show called Cousin Herb Show back there, and I was back when I was right out of high school. We had a quartet and went down and performed on there, as did a lot of the Bakersfield bunch, and I got acquainted with Bonnie, and Bonnie said, I think you could write a song. She said, why don't you write me a song and bring it back to me? Anyway, I did, and she published it. That started the whole thing, and when she and the Hag split the blanket, well, I wound up over at Buck Owens' studio, and Jim Shaw was the musical director, I think was his title, there with Buck Owens. And Jim and I became really good friends and co-writers, and wound up writing a song called This Ain't Tennessee that's been recorded by Eddie Arnold, Tom Jones, Janie Fricke, Garth Brooks. I think I've had 9 majors on that one song that I wrote with Jim. Anyway, then I had an opportunity to go down and work with Clint Eastwood and Snuff Garrett down in Hollywood. Got a few things recorded down there with Lefty Frizzell's brother, Frizzell and West. Shelley West is Dottie West's daughter, and David was Lefty's brother, and I had a couple of songs on their first album that Snuff Garrett produced, and it did real well. And later on, drifted down to Nashville and hooked up with Buddy Emmons and Phil Baugh and some of the folks that had some interesting things going on in the 1980s, and just hit it up. I like to say I fell uphill, well, you just, I think just being there, helped a lot, and hanging around the right people, and got some stuff done. I'm not downplaying whatever talent I have, but I see a lot of talented people in that town that never did make it, that were a hell of a lot more talented than myself. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm not giving the money back. I guess that's it.
Well, why do you think that some people in any kind of creative endeavor, whether they're going to Nashville to write songs or going anywhere really, maybe to record songs and be a star, why do some people make it and some people don't?
Well, I think it's a combination of talent and persistence. Larry Gallon once told me, he says, this was back in the 70s. He was just getting started, and I hooked up with him on a couple of things. Anyway, he said, I said, I love writing. I said, I sure try to make it and everything. And he said, would you do it for nothing? And I said, well, yeah, I've done it for nothing. You know, heck yeah. He says, if you didn't make any money, would you quit writing? I said, absolutely not. Well, it's something like that type of drive, you know. First off, you have to know that you can do it. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that I could write a song, and I think you have to be that driven, I'll put it, to succeed, and then there's a lot of luck. I mean, face it. They have a saying back there that you can't get out of the way of a hit song, and that is so right. You know, if you show up with something that is current and shows a different way of doing things, you can make the same statement in your song that everybody else has made, and as long as you're different, you approach it from a different premise maybe. You know, it might be the difference between all the other ones that had a love story to them or that was similar. So just say things in a different way. Be conversational. I can't emphasize that enough on young people starting. You've got put that, quit writing with your thumb and start writing with your heart, and start listening to people carrying on conversations, because there's so many different ways you can say the same phrase and make it different, and or make it so people recognize that immediately as being something that they've either done or seen or heard. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I think that can be applied to a lot of things.
Yeah, I think there's a drive in different people that just won't quit. And as I say, you're doing it anyway. I'm consistently, I've got some line or some little riff or something going on in my head that I can't get rid of. When I'm writing, if I have I very rarely get a mental block. I don't think that's what they call it. Whatever it is, where you get to a point on a song and you don't know where to go with it.
Yeah, writer's
I go fishing. I love to fish, but I can never quit thinking about that line. But when I'm fishing, my mind is a blank canvas. And when that idea comes back into my thinking, all of a sudden it's brand new, and that's it. That's the line. That's what I want right there. You know, I've turned or let 3-pound trout get away because I found the right line for that last song. Race back to the car and head back home and write it down. Although I don't write things down as a rule. Garth, when he writes, about drove him nuts because I wouldn't write anything down. But I had a theory that if you have to write it down, it isn't that good anyway. If it's a great line, you won't forget it. I don't recommend that to everybody, but geez, it sure worked for me.
Would it be a good estimate to say that you're coming close to having written 1,000 songs?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let me check. How many songs have I written, honey? Is it over 900? I know. She says easy over 900. I don't know whether it's 1,000 or not. But
it's getting there.
Yeah.
Is there a song that to you has the greatest meaning for your life? for you?
For me, a song that I've written?
Yeah.
Or, well, Unanswered Prayers was not, Garth and Pat Alger did an awful lot on that. Garth and I think we were walking, he says it's 16th Avenue. I think we were on 17th, but we were walking down the sidewalk, and he says, I got this song going with Pat Alger. It's about this gal that I loved in high school, and it didn't work out and everything, but he always was sorry he didn't. And it didn't, when he met her again, she was as different as he was, and he says, what would you call it? And I said, Unanswered Prayers. And he about flipped. And I said, well, only God's the only one that can, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. It meant a lot to me, first off, that he would ask me about that. And secondly, that he'd take it and it would do as well as it did. If you're talking about I wrote a song, oh shoot, man, I'm trying to think of the title of it now. It was one that I just wrote here not too long ago. Good Lord, I'll think of it. Geez, though, I've got so many things going on in my mind today. Well, like I say, de luna en las gallinas ponen, Living proof. Some of the songs have never been recorded that are really important to me. I wrote a song about that is me more than anything, and the cowboy in me. And it started out as a poem. If you've got time for it, I could recite it for you.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
I used to work cattle a little bit, when I was a kid, and never could figure out why people did it. And, Dad used to say there's 3 things that can happen on horseback, and 2 of them are bad. But anyway, I was moving cattle, and I was up trying to find some. So I wrote this, today I made a canyon sing about a saddle creaking, about spur rails jinging, about shod hooves making slate rock ring. Today I made a canyon sing. Today I made a blue grouse fly from a spruce tree down a mountainside. I lost my hat when my bay horse shied. Today I made a blue grouse fly. Well, today I went where I'd never been, where the mountain stops and the sky begins and the trees are bent by the snow and the wind. Today I went where I'd never been. Well, tonight I made a sagebrush fire and put coffee on that pungent pyre. The man who says it's gone's a liar. Tonight I made a sagebrush fire. Well, I'm a cowboy, and damn it, I'll stay the course. And as long as I can set a horse, I'll make saddles creak, and I'll make spur rails jing, and I'll find a canyon, and I'll make it sing.
I like it. Great.
It's kind of, but there's a lot of different. I'm proud of a lot of the stuff that I've done, and I think I've been on 68, 76 million records. I've had songs on that. And a lot of them are duplicates, like Garth, on songs that Garth and that I've written for Garth, and he's recorded. Well, he's re-released those, millions of times, so it sounds pretty good. But actually, most of them were songs that have been other people have recorded or whatever. But it still counts as records, so they kind of count it that way. So now, where do you live?
Well, I am in the state of Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Golly, I love Georgia.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wrote a song called Georgia Pines for You. Jim Shaw and I wrote that. I love it. Love that. I love that state. I love the attitude of people coming from Georgia, because they're kind of like me in California. They never forget their roots. There's a saying in Nashville that you got to be present to win, and that's true to a point. But there's another saying that familiarity breeds contempt.
True.
And that's true also. And I think sometimes we kind of chasing our tail back there, trying to write the last hit or rewrite the last hit. And I always stayed in California as a resident because I'm firmly convinced that when I would go back, when I was going back all the time, when I'd go back, I'd come back with something fresh, you know, because I'm listening to the guy at the service station and talking to old friends, you know, that I'd known forever, and hearing their stories of divorce and new progeny being born, and you know, and people passing, and you know, and their problems and their celebrations and everything. And back there, it's so not inbred, but they're all kind of doing the same thing. It was back when I was really struggling. It was great for me to be here because what I was writing was really getting a lot of attention when I would take it back. And I know a lot of times they'd send out a tip sheet saying so-and-so's going in, and here's what he's looking for. You know, he wants all up-tempo songs, looking for up-tempo. And I would send them a ballad because I figured, hell, everybody's sending them up-tempo songs. You know, and maybe they're tired of listening to up-tempo songs, so I'd send them a ballad, and darned if I wouldn't get the darn thing cut, you know. And it was because everybody else, you know, they were getting themselves, whoever was listening for that publishing or producing company, you know, they'd see something that'd be fresh, you know. Well, I got a lot of stuff done that way. I think Saturday Night Special was done that way. I'm not sure. I think so. A Conway Twitty song. I've had songs cut by Tom Jones and George Jones and Tammy Wynette and Reba and golly, lots of folks. Been blessed. Golly, Paul. I did fall uphill.
Well,
thinking about it.
It's interesting. Everybody says, "Oh, you have to move to Nashville," and then, "Oh, if you know, you got to send the up-tempo songs, and you send them the ballads." So you're someone who doesn't follow the rules.
I never. That's never been a problem with me, not following the rules. But you know, you got to be a little contrary to. Or opinionated or whatever, and I tend to be a little bit that. Although I'm pretty eclectic when it comes to songs. I grew up listening to Tony Bennett, man, and Perry Como and Bing Crosby and you know, when I was a kid, you know, and it was, but I also grew up in where the Dust Bowl people that moved in here in the 30s and 40s, you know, get work in all this agriculture. They were starving to death back in Texas and Oklahoma, and they come out here to get fed. And golly, what it did to this region here is it completely turned everybody on their musical head. Because here came Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, and here came Lefty Frizzell, and here came Haggard and all of these people with their country roots, and it was so exciting for me because at last there was no more spoon, moon, and croon crap going on. You could write what's coming out of your heart. Today I started loving her again, right back where I've always really been. Got over her just long enough to let the teardrops in. Today I started loving. I mean, it was just so cut through all of the bull and get right in the middle of your heart. And it was exciting, man. God, Eddie Arnold, first, you thought, well, everything that he did, was doing cattle call and different, he was stretching. He was going pop and country at the same time. And I think the Dust Bowl folks, with their music showing up, just all of a sudden changed California. When you had places like down in oh shoot, I can't think of the name of that little town down there in the LA basin where they had Cliffy Stone's Hometown Jamboree was the name of it. And heck, he had Tennessee Ernie Ford and K-Star, and they did a song called I'll Never Be Free. God, it hit the charts all over, and there was a twang and everything after that. Thank God for that twang. It helped our grocery bill. That's for sure. But no, it's I think that the thing that the honesty of their lyric was so in your face. God, I loved it. It sure gave me a. But then Christopherson came along, and all of a sudden, Christopherson was a important guy. I think that's, there again, he was from Texas, so he had that honesty about him too. You got to be real in country music. You can get away with it in some of the other types of music, but in country, they don't put up with it.
You were mentioning Pat Alger earlier.
Yeah.
And not just songwriters that you write with, but friends, people that you're going to work with. What do you look for in another person?
As a co-writer?
Yeah, a co-writer or anything.
Well, first off, you got to respect them, and you got to get respect. I'm a lyricist, basically, so I look for somebody, with more into the musical end of it. Somebody that is very astute with developing a melody. God, I don't have my list. About the only one that I ever doubled up with was Dwayne Blackwell. And Dwayne and I both wrote lyrics and music. So, and we're pretty successful with it. We kept it up for a long time. Dwayne's down in Mexico, I think, now. But, thinking of, hang on just a second.
Sure.
What's our guy from Georgia? No, our, co-writer from down there. Archie Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
Archie and I are really, really great buddies, and he came out and stayed with us for a couple of months one time, and we wrote a lot of stuff, and Archie is great with the music part, and we were a perfect complement there, and it worked out. And there again, he was a great guy, is a great guy. We still keep track of each other, but if you have a stronger suit, like if you're a better musician than you are a lyricist, find somebody that is the complement to you, that can help you with with the words, and you can hold your own with the music part. I have a friend up in Washington that's great musician, great singing voice, my Lord. And he's a bartender up there. He just, I love writing with him, We've written quite a bit of different stuff. I got one, Chris Ledoux's son, Ned Ledoux. Have you heard anything about him?
Oh, yeah, indeed.
I just wrote a thing called Another Horse to Ride that he just recorded. And I'm kind of excited about that. I think it releases like the last part of the month. Golly, that's now, isn't it?
Tomorrow's the last day, yep.
I know it. Oh, Lord. But I think it's either the last or the first couple of days in November. But he's a good kid, and I sure hope him well. His Chris was such a wonderful guy. I got to hang with him for a while. And, I was really pleased that somebody else that was very extremely important to me in cutting my musical teeth was Mickey Newbury. Go Google Mick.
Oh, yeah.
And listen to some of the stuff that he did. God rest his soul. He's just a wonderful person and so brilliant, man. And there's a guy that could hit you in the heart, Some of his lyrics are just off the chart. And being different, here we go again. Being different. Different's good. Different's not a bad thing.
So true.
Anyway, Mickey was back in the late 70s. I got to go see him, and I talked to him on the phone. He called about something. I don't remember what it was. It sure as hell wasn't. How do you write a song? He was chapter and verse on that. But what? He asked me about somebody that I knew. That was it, and we got to be good friends, and I got to go up and hang with him before he died. And just a good man. What a loss. But good people. Good people. There's, I was so blessed with hanging with some really nice folks, and some of them that everybody said you got to watch for this one or something like that. But hell, they would be just great with me, and I was really blessed with not really running into any bad eggs, But some of them were a little slick, especially down in Los Angeles. But we're pretty country up here in a different way. Always have been, We like to hunt and fish. In fact, I just got through putting up 4 quarters of venison in the freezer. I got my deer.
Well, someone who's played a big role in your story would be Garth Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
When you first met Mr. Garth Brooks,
yep.
What did you see?
I saw a cowboy kid from Texas that was very polite, extremely quiet, would sing his song and kind of, it was always, yes, sir, Mr. Larry, and I appreciate that, but God, he could write a song, man. That was the thing that got me right off the bat. I just, I didn't know anything about who he would turn into as far as a performer, but boy, I'll tell you what, I knew he could write a song, and we hooked up. Bob Doyle signed him, and Bob had signed me as a writer for his new publishing company, and he brought Garth in one time. Said, "You got to meet this kid." I just knew he had a good voice, and he played a great guitar, and he sang some really good songs for somebody that I learned later that he'd cut his teeth in some bars down in Tulsa or someplace there in Oklahoma, and so he actually was a little bit a better performer than what I understood him to be. I didn't know he was that, but man, when you got him on a stage, I mean, if he's just playing for you and me, trying out a song on somebody's couch or something, you have no idea of who he becomes when the footlights go on. He's just a monster of talent. And here again, I fell uphill because he and I were with the same publishing company. Bob Doyle did more for me than anybody. I mean, he kept me fired up, getting things cut. I'd had a pretty good success for not being back there before that, being down in L.A. and I'd hooked up with Ray Price on a couple of things. He'd recorded them, and so I'd had a little bit of success, but when I met up with Bob, then I was getting Conway Twitty cuts, Reba McEntire cuts, Mo Bandy, just all kinds of folks, and then Garth comes along, and hell, that's the golden ring there. So, yeah, Garth. I'm going to tell you something about him that nobody really recognizes, and I think you'd probably have to know him personally, but that's one of the funniest men I have ever met in my life.
Yeah?
He's got a sense of humor like you would not believe, and he's a crack-up. Practical jokes, man, he's a funny dude. I saw him here not too long ago in Los Gatos, Paso Robles. Got to hang out. I'm helping him on his anthology.
This book?
And, yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I don't know much about it myself other than what my part that he wanted me to do is to get items that I might have in my collection of things, physical items, tapes, writing, little brief things. So I don't know exactly what's going on. Like I told Bob Doyle when he called, I said, by the way, what in the world is an anthology? So you could see how far I was from that point, but it was really nice. He'd call me and introduce me to somebody that was working on it, Garth would, and say, hey, pal, why don't you, try to find this for me? And, well, so that's kind of where it is. I don't know. I suppose it's going to release here right away. I think so. I think it's sometime in November.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah. That's about all I know about it.
Well, one of the songs that I first think of when I think about Garth Brooks, you wrote it, and I can't speak about the song because you're the one that wrote it. I didn't. But what I think about when I think about this song, even though it's a song about rodeo, I think about compulsion every time I hear it. I think about, a person.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about...
there's a lot of similarities between a bronc rider or a bull rider especially a bull rider, that there is with a guy obsessed with music. He'll pretty much do anything he can to get that song cut. Bull riders are possessed, man. They're hung up on the high that they get by climbing on one of those things, not knowing whether they're going to live or die. It's not that bleak with a songwriter, but let's be real here. How many I know, I haven't got enough toes or fingers to count how many people I know that have cut the cord with mom, dad, 2 or 3 wives, even kids, to run off to the chasing the music. And those bull riders are the same thing. They do it because they need to. They have to. You know, that's it. That's their high right there. You know, the adrenaline, the adrenaline. Well, I'm losing my tongue here. That adrenaline rush, man, it's like these guys that run for a living. You know, they do these long distance races. When they achieve that high point where they're almost ready, you know, to hyperventilate, my God, that's what they're after. And in music, it isn't that physical, but the drain on everybody around them that are trying to figure them out, wonder why in the world they're not the husband that they thought we were, or something like that. Now, I write great divorce songs because I've never been divorced. But I was blessed with a woman that understood who I was. We grew up practically, and in doing that, it wasn't a to her. In fact, she was right along there with me. I mean, hey, heck yeah, you need to do that. You know, you need to fly to Nashville. You need to get that done. You need to get together with Dwayne. You need to get together with you need to call Garth. You need to do this. Biggest duck in the puddle there, kiddo. You know, and not many people are fortunate enough to have women like that celebrating right with them, you know. Yeah, you know, she'll be canonized one of these days. Saint Myrna will arrive. Myrna's her first name. I always kid. Gatlin told me one time, he says, God, you over-married, man. She's a hell of a lot better than you deserve. And I couldn't argue with him. But lots of good things happened, and observing that, boy, you hit that right in the middle. You wound me up on that one, Paul.
It's just
God,
something...
you've been listening, man. I'll tell you. Whew.
Yeah, somebody was saying that to me. We were talking about the song Rodeo, and he was saying, you know, what's the deal with this song about a rodeo? And I love that song. And I told him, I said, that's not a song about a rodeo. That's about a man with an addiction.
You hit it right, Matt. Just smear. Well, I'll tell you what, you're the first one that's ever really confronted me with that. But that's exactly what that song was written for. Paul, you are, you're my friend forever. Figuring that one out.
Well, thank you.
But that's the guts. That's the heart. That's what you look for in one of those deals. I've had a lot of people say, what the hell is Latigo? Well, Latigo is cowboy baling wire. It's leather It's the thing the cinch strap is made of. That's Latigo leather. The little tie-down things on the saddle, behind the cantle on the saddle, that's all made out of Latigo. I had a guy call from a radio show in St. Louis, and it was a country music station, and the question came up about Latigo. What is Latigo? And so he called the office and asked to talk to me, and they said, well, don't count on it because he doesn't really like to do interviews. He says, well, I'm going to try him anyway. And he called, and I thought, well, that was so cool. You know, I'll talk to him. And but he had a deal. Whoever said the correct word first as to what it was, that they got, oh shoot, I don't know what they got. They got a bunch of tickets for something. So I told him what it was, and anyway, somebody won it. I didn't. But anyway, we got to, meet guys like Buddy Cannon. Buddy and I wrote a thing called Yard Sale for Sammy Kershaw. Buddy produced it. And by the way, I love straight ahead country songs like that. I like the old ones that are so honest. Oh, some of the Haggard stuff, The Way I Am. Sonny Throckmorton wrote it. And man, I think that's probably as well a written song as you'll hear. And I love Sonny. He's got to meet him here at Ray Price's memorial. Anyway, good guy. But
what is the best thing about Myrna, your wife?
Yeah, just the total package. The love, I mean, everything begins with that. And the respect that everybody that meets her automatically has for her. And it isn't anything that she does out other than be who she is. Her honesty, steadfast. She's a hell of a lot stronger than I am, mentally. I mean, give me a break. I mean, I'd go on all day on that. Her attitude towards life itself. She takes it like it comes to her, you know. Oh, she's given me two of the finest children you ever met in your life. Grew up strong and good people. They married well. They've got wonderful wives. My daughter-in-laws couldn't be closer than blood, you know, than my own progeny. But she's just everything. I just can't imagine. Well, we grew up together. Just, you know, she's perfect. I love her.
My last question.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Larry Bastian? Who is the man at heart?
He's pretty complex. He thinks too much. He's a lot of things. I wish I could remember that one song I was trying to figure out. That one. Hang on just a second. The one. I tell you what, lyrics, they're a wonderful thing and they come really fast to me. But there's a song that I hear about, a year ago, I guess it was. Every once in a while I get a little deal where get a little blue and not have any reason to it. And but she's going to look it up here. So anyway, I'm sitting around feeling sorry for myself with nothing to do. So, you know, have you ever had where you just wanted to step outside and scream?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was in one of those those deals, and you go out and all of a sudden it all came out, and this one, it was like throwing up. You feel so good when it's over. I don't know, but let me see if I can bring it to mind here. I don't have to read it. It came to me.
Okay.
I got out there and I wrote down, sometimes I go retro like a clock in October and fall back recalling the wrong that I've done. Are there days enough left to atone for transgression? Does a father still wait for his prodigal son? I've lived a lifetime chasing down rainbows and running away when the gold wasn't there. Now there's a stranger that lives in my mirror with lines on his face and gray in his hair. I'm a pilgrim that strayed from a path straight and narrow, a believer that stumbled and fell out of grace. I'm the outlaw that's trapped in his own big box canyon, waiting to deal with the law that he'll face. Regret is a coyote that cries after midnight for the love that you've tasted and then set aside, and howls his displeasure at the times beyond measure you offered it up on the altar of pride. I'm a pilgrim that strayed from a path straight and narrow, a believer that stumbled and fell out of grace. I'm the outlaw that's trapped in his own big box canyon, waiting to deal with the law that he'll face. Larry Bastian. That's pretty much me right there.
Well, thank you very much.
Man, it's a pleasure to talk to you, Paul.
It was an honor, absolutely.
We're sure, I sure hope some of that makes sense to you, but boy, you sure nailed me.
Well, I'm glad we had this chance, and I hope we get to meet in person someday.
Oh, let's do it. Oh, man. Oh, next time I get to Nashville, if you've got time to spend, come up there. Man, I'd like to meet you and hang out for a while. And I'd show you our office and go backstage at where Larry Bastian lives.
Oh, I'd love that.
And I can show you where it all took place.
Oh, that'd be great.
But then like I said, I don't do these things very often. I can count on one hand the times that I've done them. I did them early on because I had to, and then I quit. And so the other thing is I'm a pretty good judge of character. I think the Lord looks after me where that's concerned, and he sure said, talk to Paul.
Well, that's great. Well, I can thank the Lord for that. Yeah.
Anyway, well, golly, I feel like I've known you forever now since I spilled my GUTZ. But thanks so much for talking to me.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
This has been my place. This has been mine, too. So, anyway, we both won on this one.
I like that.
And then, and the next time I'm there, I'm serious. So I want you to come out, meet Myrna and me, and we'll have a large time up there.
I look forward.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
All right.
God bless you, man.
I hope you enjoyed that one. Something tells me I'll be catching up with Larry Bastian again one of these days. I look forward to it. Thanks to Larry Bastian, our special guest. Thanks also to Major Bob Music. If you haven't subscribed to the Paul Leslie Hour yet, I encourage you to do so. It's totally free. We're on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and Acast. Consider also rating and reviewing us. It helps other people find us. That's all I've got for now. Until next time.
The Paul Leslie Hour is hosted, produced, and written by Paul Leslie for Lifestyles Entertainment. For information, visit thepaulleslie.com. Thank you for being with us. Until next time.